We studied at the same college, but she was 2 batches junior to me. From the very first day, I found myself drawn to her, but despite my feelings, she never paid me much attention. She was in a relationship at the time, and their connection seemed perfect. They had that undeniable chemistry. But as time passed, things started to change. The guy eventually deceived her, and she was left heartbroken and devastated. It was at that time that our paths began to cross more frequently. Slowly, we started talking on Facebook, and I began to check in on her regularly, offering her support. I would say things like, "Take care," hoping to make her feel better, but even then, she didn't show any interest in me. Despite that, I didn't give up. I was determined, and I continued to be there for her, hoping that someday things would change. At home, there was another struggle. My parents had a clear vision for my future. They wanted me to become a doctor. That was their dream. However, my heart wasn't in it. My passions lay elsewhere, in organizations, writing, and traveling. Becoming a doctor wasn't a goal I was excited about, but I didn't want to disappoint them. I decided to attend coaching in Rangpur to prepare for the medical entrance exam, even though I wasn't fully invested in it. The coaching was intense, and when it ended, I applied to several universities, hoping for a chance. However, every time the results came out, I faced disappointment. I couldn't get into any of the universities I had applied to. Amidst all this, something unexpected started happening. The girl, who had never really paid attention to me, began talking to me more often. Her tone was softer, and I could sense that she was opening up. She started checking in on me regularly, asking how I was doing, how my studies were going. It was a small change, but it felt like a big one to me. She even encouraged me to keep going with my studies. I began to take my education more seriously, motivated by her words. One day, to my surprise, I got accepted into the marine engineering program. It was a significant achievement, and I couldn't have been more excited. Over the next couple of years, our relationship deepened. We began to understand each other better, and I always felt that she was there for me. She supported me during my toughest times and always had my back. There was a sense of trust between us that I had never experienced before. We weren't just friends, we had become confidants. But then, as life sometimes does, everything seemed to take a sudden turn. She got admitted to RUET, a prestigious university, and everything changed. The dynamics of our relationship shifted, and it was as if the world around us became more complicated. Our relationship, which had been somewhat private, started to become known by more and more people. Our fathers were the only ones who weren't aware of it, but everyone else seemed to have figured it out. Unfortunately, her mother, who was from a high-status family, couldn't accept our relationship. She didn't like the idea of her daughter being with someone from a different social background, and this created a lot of tension between us. Slowly, the distance between us began to grow. It didn't take long for me to realize that I was slowly fading out of her life. Her family's disapproval was something I couldn't control, and the strain it caused between us became too much to bear. I knew she was conflicted, but I didn't want to give up on her. It was painful, but I started to think about what I could do to change things. That's when I came up with an idea, a rather unconventional one, but I felt it was my only chance. She had always told me that she wanted me to become a doctor, so I decided to create a fake Facebook profile as a doctor. It sounds strange, but I figured if I could somehow get her to see me in a new light, it might reignite something between us. I created the profile, made a few connections with people who could back up my story, and then sent her a friend request. She accepted, and we started talking. I didn't want to come off as just another random person, so I decided to learn a bit about medicine to make my story more convincing. I reached out to a medical friend and asked for some basic knowledge. I started inserting medical terms into our conversations, just enough to make it seem like I knew what I was talking about. To my surprise, she seemed to be impressed. She would tell me how quickly I understood her thoughts and feelings, as if I could read her mind. However, despite our growing friendship, she was still skeptical. She wasn't completely convinced that I was who I said I was. So, to clear her doubts, I sent her some pictures, but not of me. I made sure they were pictures of someone else, just to make the whole thing seem more believable. Even then, she wasn't entirely sure, and her suspicions lingered. So she asked for my phone number. At this point, I enlisted the help of one of my friends to talk to her on the phone and confirm my identity. Once she spoke to him, her doubts disappeared completely. Now that she trusted the doctor I had become, our friendship grew even stronger. We started talking every day, and I could feel that we were closer than ever. But there was one thing I had yet to do. I still hadn't told her who I really was. I knew it was time, so I decided to propose to her as a doctor, not as myself. I gathered all my courage and told her how I felt. To my surprise, she rejected me, but not in the way I expected. She confessed that she had always loved me, but it was me, not the fake doctor. That was the moment everything changed. All the effort, all the deception led to this revelation. I was the one she had always cared for. I hadn't needed to pretend to be someone else. She had always loved me for who I truly was, even though I had been afraid to reveal myself. Now, as we walk through life together, I know it wasn't the easiest path. There were ups and downs, moments of doubt, and plenty of mistakes along the way. But here we are, side by side. Every day I can look at her and say, I love you, knowing that she loves me back, just as I am. It's a love that's real, and it's the kind of love I never could have imagined when I first met her. Now, as we walk through life together, I realize how much we've both grown, how much we've learned. Our journey has been anything but easy. There have been moments of doubt, times when I questioned whether it would ever work out, and mistakes we've both made along the way. Yet, despite everything, we've come through stronger, more certain of what we have. The road that once felt uncertain now feels like the most beautiful path we could be on, one we're walking hand in hand. Every day, I find myself marveling at the depth of our connection, the love we've built, and the unwavering trust between us. There's a quiet strength in the way we support each other, a gentleness in the way we understand each other's hearts without even having to speak. It's a love that feels like home, warm and unshakable. And as I look at her, I know that she loves me just as deeply. Not because of the masks we wore, not because of the roles we played, but because we've finally found each other exactly as we are.
I love you, I say to her now, with a sense of certainty I never had before. And she smiles, that beautiful smile that I've come to cherish, and whispers back, I love you, too. It's not just words anymore, it's the essence of what we've built together, a love that's real, that's ours, and that will endure no matter what comes next. It's a love I never could have imagined when I first met her, but now, it's the only thing that feels true.